Go ahead and get started, guys. So trying to make it short and sweet. However, keep in mind I'm going to give a lot of instructions in here. And to be fair, this is kind of the time to ask questions is because it's literally recorded. And somebody watching this recording literally as I speak might have the same question, right? Or somebody might have the same question in the room. So again, there's no such thing as a dumb question, especially when it comes to studio. However, one of the first things that we can do, and to be fair, we can do it in both Photoshop or Illustrator or really just about any program out there except maybe MS Paint. In fact, I bet even MS Paint can do it. But to be fair, we're just going to talk about scaling a drawing. Now, if in our case, it's a pretty simple percentage change here. We're going from 1/16 to 1/8, where that's a pretty easy math there. That's 200%. But what about 1/8 to 3/8? You're going to have to do some math, right? Obviously, 1 divided by 8 equals 0.125. Whereas now I could do, well, 0.125 times 3, that's going to give me 3/8, and so on and so forth. So don't get me wrong, the math isn't always going to be as easy as this project. Some of this stuff I've done on purpose, because again, it's going to get a little bit harder in D2, right? But again, you got some tools on your tool belt, such as Photoshop. Gosh, you could even ask ChatGPT, what's the scalable percentage between 3/8 and 1/8? And it'll even show you how to calculate something like that. I can't tell you how many times the internet has taught me something, right? I mean, seriously, guys, I wouldn't even be here probably talking to you if it wasn't for the internet, which is kind of a weird thing to think about. Are we artificial intelligence? Anyway, maybe a question for a different day. However, I'm just going to open up one of the projects that I was talking about this morning for Bohuslav's class, and just further remind you that you can double something, right? So for instance, let's say I went to my image, and I go to, edit. Man, where is it? Sorry, my bad. It was an image. So obviously we have image size and canvas size. In our case, I want to change my canvas size. And since it is such an easy change, I mean, quite simply, I could just double, obviously these. So in my case, 11 times 2 is 22, and 17 times 2 is 34. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, I accidentally put 37, but I think the point actually makes itself. Now don't get me wrong, that didn't actually change the drawing yet. I'd still have to take the image itself. In his case, let's turn off a couple of these things so we don't get confused. Let's take that one. I could take this whole thing and obviously put it back to the stringence of the page, right? In our case, the frame, and basically adhering to the frame. Now, to be fair, you could do it a little bit easier than that also. And this would, of course, work if, well, it's not the easiest math in the world, like, say, 200%. So in our case, we can go to image, edit. That's why I'm getting confused. You can go to transform, or obviously the layer of transform, and we can basically go to scale. Now, as long as you have one of those selected, you can essentially just type in the scale percentage. So in our case right now, it says 100% at width and 100% at height. I'm going to change those to 200. So 200, and as you can see, it already automatically changed the other one. It kept it proportional. And just like that, done. Again, just at the top. Like I said, this is why I asked, do you want me to record this? It's almost kind of too simple. But again, just to kind of see that back, once we click the object, you can even see it says width. And I think if we actually hover over it, set horizontal scale and sort the vertical scale. If you click on this part in the middle, this will make it unproportional again. Right, so if I really wanted to make one side 1/16 and one side 1/8, I guess technically I could. I would click that to make it unproportional, and then basically switch one to, 100. And as you can see, it's going to squish the drawing in some way, right? Obviously not what we want to do, but clearly just going to 200%, and it's kind of funny, I keep hitting Command Z. Not sure why I did that. Anyway. But yeah, pretty simple. The second thing I wanted to go over was the fact that you can put these 12 by 12 pieces, guys, on a bigger sheet right? Like say a 3 by 24, I can print that out. It costs about $1.50 per square foot, so about $3, right? It could even save you money potentially. This could also be something that you send to ARC on Broadway, and they print it out for you as well. You just come back to school and cut it out. Not a big deal. But for instance, is my Miro open? If my Miro is open and ready to go, I guess I could show us. It's not even ready to go though. So I'm not gonna sit around for the internet. However, you guys also have Illustrator. And to be fair, it does work just like Photoshop. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally clicked on it and I thought I was in Photoshop. But really the only difference is the AI and the fact that it's orange and that it's a vector program. Again, I'm not trying to get into the specifics of Illustrator, but I do think it might be kind of useful, especially if you're just trying to print something and you got some weird stuff, and again, they don't make a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So maybe going a little bit bigger could potentially save us some money and actually print everything at once rather than printing one thing at a time, which to be fair, I might miss a file. Oh no, and that's not good. If I print them all on one page, however, I'm not going to be missing any files. So just a small demonstration. I'll go ahead and open up Illustrator. I'll type on new file, and in my case, maybe I want to print my, I don't know, I've got like 5 diagrams that I need to do, right? 5 of them that are 12 by 12, and maybe one that is a 12 by 18. So let's go ahead and do that. In my case, I could do it one or two ways. To be fair, I could change all kinds of artboards, but again, an artboard is like a sheet of paper, right? Just to kind of keep that in mind. So in my case, I know that our printers go up to 36 inches in width, so I'm going to do 36 inches. And I know I'm going to need at least 12, 24, maybe even more. Let's go with 36 as well. A 36 by 36 inches wouldn't be the end of the world. And actually relatively small compared to some of the drawings that you'll eventually do in your master's program one day. I mean, to be fair, there'd be times where I had to print a 4 by 8, you know what I mean? Like, there's only so many printers in the world that can print 4 feet wide, you know what I'm saying? Anyway. It definitely happens, and architects are definitely know. Who do you think does all those billboards? Do you guys know how they put up the billboards? Those are actually rolls, right, of like a really long vertical image, and then they stitch them all together to make. I mean, nobody's out there with like a big piece of paper, right? You know, like, oh fuck, right? Like, oh shit. No, they put it down in rolls, right? But it's the architect, it's the graphic designer that of course puts that all together digitally, and they would probably do something similar to this. However, in our case, let's say maybe we get that Miro page after all. Hopefully D1 Studio will get there. Obviously, I want to use something that at least makes some sense for the sake of tutorial. However, as you can imagine, we're going to get some squares, right, to say the very least. And you could even actually test some of this stuff in Illustrator. But again, I'm not trying to make a tutorial about this. Obviously, you want Essentials Classic so you can get the most tools. But to be fair, you can make shapes, you can make boards, all kinds of things. But let's go ahead and use the images that we want to print. So in our case, the world's slowest internet. Wait for it. And that's it, I'm switching to my phone. Maybe I'm impatient, but there's just something about waiting more than 10 seconds for internet that just really pisses me off. But sweet, James has actually got quite a bit to look at, and I bet we could even drag it in here. Maybe not. I tried. It was worth a shot. Wait, try one more time. No, can't do it. It was worth a shot. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot of each one. In my case, Control-Shift-4. There we go. Control-Shift-4. Again, just kind of imagine that these are 12 by 12. And obviously we can dial those in a little bit more. Again, let's kind of imagine I needed this printed. I don't actually need this printed. Just in case you're watching this video and you weren't here, Noel Monse. You'll notice that it's not doing anything yet, and for good reason. Let's say this is my 12 by 18. Maybe I needed to get one of those. Kind of fake the proportion till I make it. But yeah. Once I actually click on the program, however, it's going to ask me, hey, where do you want them? And in my case, oh, it kind of automatically did it for me. That's okay. Usually it doesn't though, so let's get rid of that. But let's say we have all of our pieces, and to be fair, if you save these from Photoshop, guys, these will be the actual size that you save them. So if the canvas size is 12 by 12, it'll come into Illustrator at 12 by 12. So keep that in mind, right? Or if I go ahead and scale it 200% in Photoshop, be careful. It's not going to magically go back to 12 by 12. It'll be now at 24 by 24. So keep those kinds of things in mind. However, another thing that you could do is drag, I know, from Photoshop right into Illustrator as well. So again, if you do all the work in Photoshop, you can immediately, again, this process is just for printing. So let's imagine, obviously I have 3 feet. Don't get me wrong, I can get fancy with the spices. We can pop out the ruler here. We could dial it into exactly 12 inches. We could dial it into exactly 12 inches. And again, as long as I know those are 12 by 12, bam. Get those lined up. Bam. Look, it even tries to help me out. You guys see those purple lines that just came about there? And still come in about? Bam. Right? Get a few of those. And let's see, the 12 by 18. That was going to go over a little bit, right? Yeah. But again, I might go, oh man, I only actually needed 24 by 36. Not too bad. So I'm going to go to File, Document Setup, Edit Artboards. When I do that, I can actually click on the white space or the paper space. I can go to the top and I can control its X, Y, W, and H value. So in my case, the width is pretty good. So I'm going to make sure and change that to 24 inches. Oh no, it got rid of stuff. It's okay. Just need to move down my images. It didn't really change the size of anything, just its location. Obviously, if I hold Shift, I can keep it straight and dial it in. But now I can print this out instead of, again, a lot easier. I simply just take those, downloaded it back from Miro, and got it to a point to where I can print it. So from here, I'll go to File, Print, save it as a PDF. In my case, I don't really have a PDFer. I think the Mac actually has one by default, but let's just go ahead and save it as a PDF so you can kind of see what it looks like as a preview. Saved to my computer, desktop, test print. Sweet. And let's go ahead and open up that file. See what it looks like. There we go. Oh. Open up with preview. Sweet. And as you can see, it gets a nice print for us.
And we'll just be able to put those inside the big printers in the 6th floor and just have it all out?
Correct. Now keep in mind, you'll probably want some help getting that printed out in that particular room, right? From what I've heard, I don't think those large printers are actually set up to the printers downstairs in the lab. You'll have to go to Juan, Sultan, or somebody in that computer lab. I bet you could even flag down a sophomore student, or if you know somebody in AIS. Again, another reason to join AIS is you're in the know, right? You get to be the one who actually knows how to print for free up there. And for good reason. Usually it charges you $6 for that. I think right now, like, they've kind of removed the whole paying for stuff. So again, potentially you can get all of your printed stuff for free, right? However, keep in mind this is kind of at the very end, but to be fair, for this part that you're about to do right now, go scan it, 200%, go print it out and trace it. There's no reason to sit there and times everything by 2. Technically, you could, but why not? I mean, we got the skills, we got the tools, why not use them? Any questions about this process so far, guys?
So for the drawings that we just did, can we use those, or should we remake those in the?
I would use those. Just scan those, 200%, and then print that out so that you can trace it
Okay.
or use it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, don't use it as in like blowing that up 200% and then posting it on the wall for the final. No, definitely not. We want to use it. We want to blow it up. That way, we don't have to do all the calculations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Good answer though. Did everybody hear that? I do not want a printed drawing for your floor plan and section of the final. I want those hand done, and for good reason. Don't worry. You'll have D3 and D4 to do all the digital work in the world. You'll have computer graphics with me or Professor Iman if that's the route you guys want to go. But let's see what Tobin Simpson gave you, right? I want to see the best of the best drafting skills that you have. And I definitely know that some of you guys have them. And the reason I say that is because, well, at San Antonio College, it'll be the last time you use them too. The first time and the last time you use them. And it is kind of special because I would say that students, the reason why they do so much better here is because they understand what it takes to make a drawing. That's why the old guys are so much better than the newer guys too, because they didn't have a computer to do it for them. They had to do the 200% calculation all themselves. They couldn't just reprint it again. Oh, scanner, what the fuck is that? See what I'm saying? Literally, where they were lacking, we've become lazy over time, to be fair. However, this is our opportunity to actually be even better than them, to where we can both learn the analog position and the digital position, and we can put them together before you could even transfer to another school. Where, you know what transfer schools are worrying about right now? How do we get analog back? It's this like constant balance between architecture school. Should it be digital or should it be analog, or is there some sort of happy place in between? And fortunately, SAC, and myself included, is probably a huge reason. I think both have value, right? So, again, make sure that these are printed, totally fine, but your final drafted at 1/8, that is hand drawn. Definitely a good question. Any others? All right.
The materials for the final model, is it still just cardboard for the base? And then
Right, same material palette.
And just whatever you want to do. Like the 4, 2 4, or
Yeah, for the most part, like it's like the water and stuff that should become Mylar. Like if you were using glue, for instance, in the concept model, that's fine, right? But for the final model, again, we kind of want to solidify the materials of certain elements. I'd get some basswood in there if you're thinking some sort of structured walls. And we can have some more in-depth conversations, especially Wednesday and Friday. Realistically, guys, I'd bring everything you got Wednesday and Friday, right? Definitely Wednesday. For Friday, I want to see one or the other. I want to either see a finished model or I want to see finished drawings. Or finished drawings. To be fair, I think it'd probably be see, I also don't want you to start a final model on Friday, right? And be like, oh, crap, right? I only have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I got to go. And then you probably have work or something this weekend and whatnot. Or you totally called a week in advance and let your employers know that, hey, I've got finals this week. I'm going to be dead, right? I'll come back alive, don't worry. I'll resurrect 3 days later, but I've got finals in architecture this week, and I'm going to need, any time that I can be allowed to have. If that be the case, I'd really recommend that you reach out to your employers if you want to keep your job. Because I would say this is kind of a pivotal moment, and most employers don't understand what architect majors do, and even if they do, they're even kind of hoping that you fail because, well, they're kind of insecure about it anyway because they're not going to school and they're stuck in the exact same place, and you're going to be in a great place one day and they'll still be stuck at Carl's Jr., right? So again, the more time that you can give your employer about what you're doing without necessarily telling them that you're better than them, even though you are, the better. Hopefully that made some sense. Because unfortunately, I see a lot of students kind of lose their job during this time. They do great, they do wonderful in architecture, but then they're like, sir, can you talk to my employer? And I'm like, no, I can't. That's your job. You should have given your employer enough time and let them know, you know. Not me. I'm not your mom or dad kind of situation. Anyway, just throwing it out there because it does happen a lot. Another question, Rebecca?
And then for the, do you think we should do you know where we could get like long pieces of cardboard to get that? Or
Hell
should we,
yeah.
like put some together?
Mission Container Supply.
But that's for the smaller ones, right?
You can get anything there.
Any of them?
Like any cardboard.
So, like,
Did you go there? Anybody go there? It's a pretty big place. I mean, they got a whole room of just like stuff of like cardboard products. Yeah. But you can get those all by 4x8 sheets. Sometimes you can get them 4x4 sheets. To be fair, I'd really recommend that you guys buy in bulk together and kind of split it. I don't think they'll have stuff like Mylar, but yeah, cardboard and cardboard sizes, they definitely got. Did you want to add something there, Carlos? Oh.
Real quick, for the topography on the model, since it's grown to 1/8, do we?
That'll be regular cardboard. Was that the question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun on that.
No, you're good.
But yeah, Anna's completely right. This is at 1/16, so each of the layers is at 1/16. Maybe all your topography layers come back into play.
Cause yeah, mine were just, they went up by 2, cause they had regular cardboard, so I could just keep it like that.
Technically, but you'd have to add that middle layer that you took out. Remember? Okay.
Oh, and then sorry, since it's like no longer gonna be like 192, right? It's gonna be more.
No.
No?
It's 192,
It's still 192?
but at 1/8 scale. You see what I'm saying? And this is why we're practicing now, because I don't want you guys to get to D2 and be like, Barrett didn't teach us anything about scale.
So it should still be the same like topography then?
Technically, yes. Remember, everything's just getting bigger by 2. By 200%, I should say. Because it's going from 1/16 where I can fit 16 feet in an inch, but now I can fit only 8 feet in an inch. It's still an inch. The only thing that's changed is how big the foot got. Honestly, once you guys get it, like, you don't even have to like think about it. Like, trust me, you'll get to a point to where I am and you'll memorize these things, right? Remember how I said like 1/8? I just know that, oh, sorry, I thought there was like a huge spill of milk on the ground. It's just like,
That was the paper kill.
yeah. I was like, how weird did milk spill like that? Anyway, it gets easier, but obviously it only gets easier if we actually practice it and put it to the test. These are fantastic questions, by the way, and hopefully Noel and Monse and even just the recap. Yes, sir.
For our thing, because you told us how to like do that, where we do like the 36 by I guess 48 would be the size.
Mm-hmm.
Can we make our stuff like this, print it out, and like use the like excess to make our floor plan and our elevation drawing, so we don't have to try and find 24 by 36 paper?
You know, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, not a bad idea. Don't mess up or you got to print it again, though. It's not the best paper in the world to draft on. Theoretically, another thing you can do is use it as the white space and put your vellum or trace on top of it in that spot. Does that make sense? So you can still print it out. It's not the best paper to draw on. And if you mess up, you end up having to print the whole thing again. I'll let that be up to you, but will I allow it? Yeah, totally fine.
You know, like Hurwitz or anything like sells like at least trace paper that's like 24.
They do.
They do that.
It is a little pricey, just because you're getting like a whole roll of it. Another thing to do, guys, is they sell sheets of vellum, but they also sell the roll of vellum. You could easily figure out that, oh, crap, that roll of vellum's $100. But actually it'll get the whole room, and instead of paying $14 each, we're going to pay $10 each. See what I'm saying?
Big ass roll of trace paper in the graphics studio. It's like, I think it's 24.
I'd make sure. I mean, don't be like, yeah, Varette said we could steal your paper. It'll be like, dude, this is my paper. Maybe. What I'm trying to say is they sell the vellum rolls as well, right? I'm not going to advocate stealing somebody else's paper. If you guys want to go all in on a 24-inch by 24-inch trace paper, then that's totally fine. If you just happen to randomly find one, please don't take random paper from somebody, right? At least make sure, again, this is why you should put your name inside things, by the way. And you should put your name over everything, because, yeah, you know, in architecture, it gets pretty tight, right? All these materials, all these costs, and all these things. And, you know, I'm right there with you, Carlos. I would have been the first guy, too, to be like, I don't see a name on this one. I've also seen it here for an entire year, so yoink. But again, I'm not advocating for stealing anybody's stuff. So, but it's a good suggestion. Really great questions, guys. Anything else? Fair enough. This is all recorded, by the way. So, just in case.